Yeah, good morning. Last session, we discussed about working with life cycle hook methods. So, what are the various life cycle hook methods and purpose? So, various phases we learned, hook method related phases, and some technical terms also we are aware, like content projection and like change detection. These are some technical terms you need to know while working with the life cycle. So one example I will show you how this change detection works. Right, we will see one small example. All these events will internally work. We can write those events for various functionalities in different examples. In future, you will see. First, today we will see one example of how to use change detection. Change detection. So, generally, what is change detection? What are the activities that happen in change detection? Already we discussed in change detection, what are the activities that happen in the change detection? Initialization and assignment, initialization of values, assignment of values, and property binding, event binding, style binding, and class binding. All these happens in change detection. Change detection is under the control of which hook? ng on changes. That is the life cycle method which identifies change detection. Now, one more point we discussed. Change detection is under the control of, one object. If you remembered, what is it? Simple changes object. Simple changes object is responsible for identifying the changes and handling the changes. So technically we will see example of this. Means we will see how actually internally change detection works, right? For that we need to take two components. We will take parent and child components. Already we have the components called parent and child. Already we have a parent and a child component. I will use them here. The parent and the child components. So let's copy. Already they have some content. I will delete that. And this is child component. Okay. And in the TS file, whatever logic I am cleaning up, I am deleting this. We have a child component empty and a parent component also empty. Parent and child component, we have one empty. This is parent component. Let's clean up parent component. Okay. In the TS file also, we will delete everything what we have. Okay. Fine. Now let's keep this parent component in the startup. In app module, we will keep this in the startup. The parent component, right? Parent component is in the startup. Parent. Here we have the parent component. So let's access that and see. And parent component is working. Now in the parent component, we want to access child component. So that's simple. We will go to the parent component HTML. And here we want child component. We have to use app child. So in the parent component, we are accessing child component. Now in parent component, we will give a text box here. I will put a simple data term, user name, and data definition input type is equal to text. Now this is a simple text box we have in the parent component. Height I will give, yeah. Now whatever username you entered here, it should be sent into child. That means we need to transport data from parent to child. Right. Already we know the technique for that. To transport data from parent to child, in child component, there must be a property ready to accept the data. So in child component, I will go to TS file. Here I will create a property, user name from parent. Just for your convenience sake, I am giving lengthy name. Username from parent. It is what type? String. And initially what it is having. So it can be string or it can be null. Initially it is null. That means nothing defined inside it. And it is not ready to accept data from parent. For that already we know we have to mark it as input. We have to mark it as input. Now it is ready. Now this username from parent, I want to display here. In the child component, I want to say hello. Here username from parent. This we want to display. That means we are now expecting data from this text box. And we want to store inside this child component, display in the child component. Then in the parent, in the parent component, this child component is expecting a property. What are the property? Username from parent. You have property called username from parent. It is expecting some name entered from text box. How to collect the value from text box and send? There are two techniques. We can use MVVM approach or we can use MVC approach. In MVC approach, compulsory what we have to do, in the parent component, we must create a property called username string type. And it is initially null. And it is null. It is configured as null. And I am sending this binding this username with the text box. How to bind? We have to use two-way binding technique, ng model. And into that, we need to bind. What is that? Username. That means whatever username you entered, it will be in text box. This username we need to send to child. That means child is expecting that username. Username is sent into the child. This already we learned how to collect the data, how to transport the data. Now you can see here, I am entering some value. It should get that and display. That means you are typing in parent component, but it is displayed in child. We are transporting data from parent to child. Now, in this, actually, we want to know how data is updated, how NG model is working, change detection happening or not. See, for that, we will go to child component. In the child component, this child component is implementing on init. To handle change detection, it should implement another one on changes. It should implement on changes. So it is implementing already on init, and you want to implement on changes. This is multiple inheritance. It is possible because ng on init, ng on changes are contracts. Contracts means interface. That means multiple inheritance for interface is supported, but multiple inheritance for classes is not supported. So these two are contracts. This is an interface. This is also an interface. So no problem. It will support multiple inheritance. But ng on changes is a contract. Contract contains a method called ng on changes. You have to implement that method. So I will write that method as ng on changes. Because every contract, if it is having some mandatory properties and methods, you have to implement them. It is compulsory. So the mandatory method of ng on changes is ng on changes. As I already showed you in previous example, it is implementing simple changes. So simple changes is responsible for identifying the changes. It is responsible for identify changes. So see now what we are doing is how it will identify the changes. It identify the changes by using previous value and current value. I will declare two properties here. One is previous value. It is a string type. So, and it is a null, string and null type. It is initially null. It is initially null. Similarly, current value also a string and null type. It is initially null. Another message is also string and null type, and initially it is null. All are configured as null, string and null. Now, what I have to do is I need to track the changes happening. Then this simple changes contains properties. We need to access all the properties. So we will use a iterator for var property in changes object. Changes is simple changes object. It will get every property. How to access every property individually? What I can do is I will create a reference called change. This contains changes of property. Changes of property. That means every property of this changes object we are collecting and we are storing in the reference called change. That means every property related value we are collecting and storing in change. This change contains, you see now, this dot current value is equal to, through the change you can access current value. Current value, what is the current value in parent component? It will collect it. in parent and child component it can collect. So this dot previous value is equal to change dot previous value. We will access the current and previous value. After accessing the current and previous value, we want to display the message. Actually, message depending on the condition. Message depending on the condition. That means we will write a simple logic here. We are writing a logic here if here this dot current value. Yeah. If this dot current value, if this dot current value is equal to this dot previous value, that means current value and previous value are same, then this dot message we should display no change detected. We are saying no change detected. Otherwise, if it is not equal, that means some change is there. Then we will put a message saying that change detected. We are displaying that change detected. So we are accessing the current value and previous value. We are verifying the current value is equal to previous value. If it is equal, means change happened. Not equal, that means change not detected, right? Now let's see. We will print these details here. I'm just printing here. The message that is coming from the MSG. The message I will keep here. That means this is the message. I want to display that message. You can display the message and you can see here, you see no change detected. By default, there is no change detected. I am entering some value, now change detected. That means it will identify whether the change is happening or not. And it can track that and it can display. For example, see now, I am not typing anything, see. By default, what I will do is, let's go to the parent component. In the parent component, username is null. I will assign some username as John. I am assigning some username as John. Means initializing. I am initializing John. Now you can see that here in the page, it says change detected. I am not doing any changes. I am not typing anything. I am not doing any changes. Then why it is saying change detected? I am not doing any changes. Then why it is saying change detected? Because initialization also comes under change detection. Initializing of value also comes under change detection. And you have that initialization part here. That means this is initialization. Initialization also comes under change detection. Why it comes under change detection? Change detection means don't think that only some change should happen while you are typing or doing some actions. Internally, change detection will be true. Change detection will be true if any of these are happening. That means if initialization happening, if assignment happening, if property binding happening, event binding happening, then style binding happening. So it will say change detected. So that is the proof actually. That means see, if I am not initializing any value, I am not initializing, I am just keeping it as null. If I am not initializing any value, it is null. That means there is no change detected. As we already said that initializing of value also comes under change detection. Initializing value also comes under change detection. That is the reason. So here you initialize some value into it, then it says that change detected. What change detected? If you want to know what change detected, then you can get the previous value, current value, and you can see. For example, see now in the child component, we will try to print here. So tracking changes. How we can track changes? I will put here previous value. Previous value. We will get that previous value. Previous value. And in the next line, let's keep current value. Current value, I will keep the current value. The previous value and current value. And you observe here, it says that the previous value is empty and current value is John. That means change detected. Previous value is empty and the current value is John. That means when you initialized memory, it is empty, nothing is there. Into that initialized memory, when component is loading, it has applied some value. While loading itself, it has applied some value. That means it had some changes. That means change detection is not about you are doing changes or not. It about so many activities happening in the background, which includes even initialization. Suppose now I am making any change. So change detection only. You see the previous value and the current value. Previous value is DAVI and the current value is D. That means some change happened. That is why it says change detected. So you can keep message like, for example, here you can write the previous value. Like if previous value value is equal to, we said undefined. If previous value is undefined, so then you have to keep the word undefined. So undefined, or we just put the previous value. Whatever the previous value is there, we put the previous value. That means you can see now it says undefined. That means before the John is as initialized, it was undefined. Already you know in JavaScript, if variable is declared, value is not initialized, then it is default what type? Undefined. It is undefined. And once you start typing value, you see undefined and John. That means previous value is not equal to current value. Then automatically change detected. Now see now what I am doing here. Suppose in the parent component, I am keeping it null. When I am keeping it null, that means you can see it says no change detected. Why no change detected? Because it is undefined. It is not defined with any value. So if I may add anything, now you can see change detected. Why change detected? Because previously it was undefined and now it is D. That means undefined is replaced with D. That means some changes happening here. Some changes are happening here. So changes means not only making changes. Changes means initializing, assigning, all this comes under change detection. Now I added some value, it says change detected. So this is actually the background of simple changes. That means simple changes, it identifies the previous value and current value. And by using previous and current value, we can identify whether change occurred or not, and we can update. You don't need to do this actually. I am just showing the architecture behind this, right? Already it is happening in the background. Because at very, very extreme experience level, that means very high level experience, you show 10 years, 15 years experience, then in that case, anybody may ask you, can you tell how NG model works? That means if anyone may ask you at very extreme experience level, they may ask, tell me the architecture behind NG model. Just by writing NG model, how it is going to identify the new value and update. How it is going to identify the new value and update. Currently we are using it. That means how it is identifying the new value and updating. Actually, what NG model is doing, it is using NG on changes. By using NG on changes, it is accessing previous value and it is accessing current value. And it is verifying from where it will access, by the help of simple changes. And it will verify the previous values, because NG model we give an username. It will verify that username is previous value is what, current value is what. If previous value and current value are same, then no change detected. If not same, change detected. When change detected, automatically it will update the new value in the UI. It will update the value into the model. That means model gets updated value. Model gets the updated value automatically when it identifies that previous value and current value are different. If previous value, current value are different, the new value will be inside model. So for that, internally already I told you the meaning. What is square brace? It is using property binding. What is parenthesis? It is using event binding. That means by using change detection, it is going to manage this. Right? Same example, some changes we made. I will give an example here just for practice. This is parent component dot ts. We just, in this nothing, only one property we mentioned. In parent component dot ts, only one property is there. I will copy this. Just username property is there. Then parent component dot html. Let's keep this HTML. And child component dot ts. In this, we will collect all the references and we will verify the current value and previous value. Then child component dot html. There we will present. This is all the code. That means we are using parent child hierarchy. We are identifying the changes and we are updating the changes. This is actually a simple example of showing how change detection happens. Change detection. If anyone asks how content projection happens, already we have that example. For content projection, we already have example. Content projection example, so that I showed you in ngIf. In ngIf, then multiple then blocks. For that we used content projection. So in lifecycle, you need to be aware of two things. One is change detection and content projection. These are two examples actually. No need of giving content projection. Already that example is with you. We discussed in ngIf. So this is all about the concept of designing and working with components. Means all these days in Angular, we learned about components. So because components are the major building blocks. So 80% of your Angular application building, designing depends on components. Now, what kind of components we have done is all are custom. We created our own components. But actually, while working with Angular presentations, we have ready-made components. We can use those ready-made components in our projects so that development will be easy. That means every component you don't need to design. For different purpose, ready-made components are present, we can use them. Suppose I want to design a grid. In that grid, I want to display all data. That grid should have filtering, sorting, searching like functionality. Manually we can design. Already we designed shopping cart like example. Manually we can design. But time waste. In real-time projects, we have to save the time. In real-time projects, nobody is testing your talent. In real-time projects, you have to do the given work with time saving. That means you cannot spend hours of time, days of time on one component. So as much as possible, we need to do the work fast. So in real world projects, majority of development happens with predefined components, ready-made. We will have ready-made components. We get them, we put them in the project, customize according to requirements. Some are free, some are paid. We purchase components and we use them because we can't waste in designing. That means, for example, if you are designing a supermarket application, you are developing an application for supermarket and they need a barcode reader. Angular don't have any barcode reader. No technology have that. Java, .NET, they don't have any barcode reading. In that case, what they have to do, depend on third party, right? Java, .NET, Angular, React, everybody have to depend on third parties. They can't ask their developers to design one barcode programming. That is too much time waste. That means you cannot ask to design barcode programming. You can simply use ready-made which are available. Some are free or with limited functionalities. Some companies will purchase for you. So as Angular developer, we have to learn how to use third-party components. It is not like somebody teaches you and you learn. It is you have to research because these third parties will be different each other. Every third party is different. We don't know which third party your company will use. Not sure. And every third party syntaxes will be different. Library will be different. They will be changing version to version. So it is not like somebody teaches and you learn. So first I will give you an idea how to use these third party components. Then you have to explore by yourself and try them, right? I will show you here. Now we will see how we can use the third party components. That means component library. Components library. Actually, components library is nothing but Angular allows to use third party components in building application. Angular allows to use third party components. So third party components in building application. Because see, many technologies have restriction. Generally, open source technologies have this facility. What is the meaning of open source? If any technology says I am open source, that means it allows to make changes. It allows to add additional plugins and do whatever you want with it. If it is not open source, then you can just use exactly how they given to you, right? These days, all technologies are open sources, majority. In that case, they will allow to use additional plugins, design, customize according to your requirements. And Angular allows to use lot of third-party components. So many are there. Popular third party are, we have so many third parties, like we have Angular material. This is a third party, but actually this is designed by Angular team. That means it is designed by Google Angular team. That is the reason it is not a part of Angular. Remember, it is not a part of Angular. It is a separate third party. And you can use this third party. This is more better. This third party is more better because it is designed by Angular team for Angular. So, but it is not enough. It will not have every solution for your problems. That is the reason you need to depend on other third parties, like we have Telerik. Telerik is another third party. So we have third parties like DevExpress. This is another third parties. So many third parties are available. You can try them. Some companies use this Telerik, but Telerik is too costly. You can expect only MNC level people using this Telerik, because these are very costly libraries. Actually, you see, this is Angular material. I will show you here Angular material. So this is material. This is Angular material here. And what is it? It is nothing but it is components for Angular. Why you need components for Angular? Already we are designing, right? These are already designed components with ready-made functionality. We can just implement them and make our application more better in performance. Like Angular material, you have also like Telerik. You see Telerik. This is Telerik. Telerik. So it says modern UI made easy. And you can see Telerik. This Telerik, you can observe, these are the customers of Telerik. NASA is customer of Telerik. Then you can imagine these people's abilities, right? NASA is a customer of Telerik, means they are providing software support for NASA like people, right? Even Microsoft is a customer of Telerik. Microsoft itself is a development company. IBM itself is a development company. Then how come these people are customers? Of course, because it doesn't mean that a development company means it will do everything by its own. For example, you say Samsung mobile, right? But Samsung mobile, the camera of the mobile belongs to somebody else. The lens in the camera belongs to somebody else. They are not Samsung. Samsung don't manufacture lens. Samsung don't manufacture cameras. So Samsung don't manufacture the chips, right? That means boards, chips, everything different people. And together it becomes Samsung mobile, right? That means you cannot ask like, why you Samsung people don't design lens? Already they are doing lot of things, and again extra business is too much headache for them. So they cannot involve in everything. That is the reason everybody have to depend on others, third parties. Even Microsoft itself is a development company. Then why it is using third party? Because certain things they don't want to involve. They simply say that even you are Microsoft, use the third party. Even you are Microsoft, use the third party, because we don't have these components and we don't waste time in designing them. Already somebody is there giving you, use them, right? So that is the reason. See, these are paid. I will go here. I will show you demos. In the demos, you can see we have Angular related demos. In Angular related demos, you can see so many components they provide. So many components. So for every component, they will give you all the support. Suppose I want to use barcode. You can see it uses the barcode. Angular code, Angular library for barcode. It will give you that complete example. That means it will provide you the library. You have to download the library and use the library, but it is not free. You have to purchase. You see, these are very costly. That means you can see 99 rupees, $99, $999 per developer. Per developer. The library costs per developer. That means how many developers you want to use support. You can see, so 24-hour response time. Response time means, what is response time? That means if you got any technical issue, their technical team will support you. You are a developer, but you haven't built it, but you are using it. Then so many issues may come. And in that case, those people are ready for helping you because you are now the customer of those people. You purchased it. They will support you in all these things. That's the reason many people are not aware of so many third parties because they are paid. Many people are aware of only Material UI because it is free. Right? Because everybody will ask like, sir, in Angular, will you teach Material? Of course, it is a general point. But we will learn only how to explore and use it. Everything you have to do manually because hundreds of components will be there. Nobody will teach you every component how to use. They will just show you one component how to explore. Others you have to do by yourself. Because the problem is they will be changing. Every third party different. So now today we will see one small point here. How to use this Angular material. We will see how to use this Angular material. That is Angular material. So many third parties are there. We will see Angular material. Actually, Angular material is not just component library. It is not just component library. It also provides component development kit. We generally call as CDK. Component development kit. It also provides component development kit. What does this means? Components are there. Component development kit also will be there. So what is difference is nothing but component is a template. Component is a template. In a template, what it contains? It contains markup. It contains styles. And it contains functionality. It contains functionality. Component is a template which contains markup, styles, and functionality. Then what is component development kit? Component development kit can give behavior for component. That means already component is there. To that component, it can give extra behaviors. That means component different, the behavior is different. You can give some additional behaviors. Like very popular behaviors, like you can give the behavior like virtual scrolling. We call this virtual scrolling. We have like drag and drop behaviors. Virtual scrolling behavior, drag and drop like behaviors. Like behaviors like filter and sort like behaviors. These are behaviors. So like behaviors like paginations, all these behaviors. That means we have component and we have behaviors. technically, what is behavior means, for example, one small point I will tell you here, and in this so many things will come actually. Detailedly, I will tell you. Suppose you have a component. This component is used for loading and displaying data. It is used for loading and displaying data. That means it will load and display data in a grid style. In a grid style, it will load. That means it will load in rows and columns. In a grid style, it is going to load the data. But what it is doing is, while loading the data, it is loading all data at a time. I don't want it to load all data at a time. I want it to load only what is necessary for that particular screen. In that case, this component have to implement a mechanism called lazy loading. Generally, in object-oriented programming, you might have heard about lazy loading, eager loading concepts. In every OOP languages, you have lazy loading. Every object-oriented programming language supports lazy loading. What is lazy loading? Lazy loading means an object is initialized only when it is required. Object is not unnecessarily initialized for a class. It is initialized only when it is necessary. And if you can implement lazy loading, then you can load only what is necessary for that situation. And implementing lazy loading requires lot of coding behind. But what these Angular people have done, they written the code also for you. And they just given it as a plugin. What you have to do is add that lazy loading plugin to your component. Then your component will start using that behavior. That means what is CDK? CDK is the behavior for components. So Angular have two options. They have components, they have CDK. That means you can use their components. You can give behavior for components. That is the reason you see the material. You have material.angular.io. You see they have two things. They have components and they have CDK also. Components is ready-made components like navigation bar, calendar, like buttons, like accordions. These are all components. For example, you see, suppose you saw Netflix. When you are watching Netflix like websites, I hope you people know that in Netflix, this is a component. This is called accordion. I hope you people know. This is called accordion. That means you click, it will expand. You click another, the previous will collapse and this will expand. This is called accordion. That means if I have to design such accordion for my website, I don't need to write anything manually. Ready-made is there. Ready-made accordion is there. You just put it and customize according to your requirements. So don't waste time. You just implement these components and design easily. You can design manually, but for that, show, hide, ng, if, true, false, and on button click events, we can do. That's not an issue. But it takes so much time. Better use ready-made components. So how to use the components and how to use the CDK, we will see. So this is the official website of Angular Material. I will show you here the process, how to handle. But remember, here so many problems you have to face, because not along with Angular version is different, Material version is different. That is the headache for developers. Because if you have installed any wrong version of Material for your Angular, then it will not work. That means sometimes you may be using Angular 9 or 10 or 12. but you are using Angular Material latest, it will not be compatible. Compatibility issues will come. And one problem is Angular Material is not built along with Angular. So Angular Material version may be changing before Angular version change. That means you may be waiting for Angular version to change, but before that, Material version may be changing every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or every 1 month. Angular, before Angular next version comes, 2-3 times Angular Material will change. That means every time you need to keep in touch of Material, because in every new version something changes they make. Some old features they remove, some new features they add. You have to explore. You cannot keep a blind notes for materials. You have to be live exploring every day. You have to check what changes are happening, because I give one option and attribute today, next day it may not be there. If a new version comes, they may change it. That's the reason it is not like you write notes and follow the notes for every component. Of course, they will not change every component, but few components will be changing. Then you have to explore by yourself. Currently, you see the official website here. This is the official website, and its version is 13.3.7. This is Material version. Our Angular version, you see the project, where to find the version in package JSON file. That means you need to go to this package.json. This package.json. In package JSON, you can see it is core version is 13.3, but the Material version is 13.3.7. Right? So that means before a new version of Angular comes, so many versions changes will happen. Minor changes. So many new properties may be added. So let's see how we can implement. And everywhere implementation is not same. Some version to version installing also changes. Installing commands, because sometimes they may add a new library. When they added new library, the way of installing also changes. Actually, people who learned Angular up to Angular 9, Material is complete different. From 9 onwards, it is complete different. Even setting up, installing also different. Right? So how to set up and work with this 13? That means I will give a correct heading here, that is setup environment for Angular Material 13x. I will just give 13x. It is suitable for any Angular 13 in the background, right? So Material 13 version. How do we set up for Material? Actually, for that, what you have to do is, first step, you have to open project, open terminal in your project workspace. You have to open terminal in project workspace. There you have to use the option. Actually, you see here in previous versions, you can see the previous versions also available. Angular 9, 10, 12, other versions also available. In other versions, process is complete different. Setting up, installing is different, right? So we will use this version. You see how we can add this. They have given an option, ng add Angular Material. Every version is not same. In old versions, it is complete different. Actually, I will show you here. In the old version, when you are going with Angular Material old version, in this old version, setting up is different. So here, you have to add other options also. Where is it? Yeah. You need to install you have to, where is the Angular material? This is old version only. Some 6.5 versions. Yeah. Yeah. You see, it is saving, it is installing different. In old versions, even the install process is different. That means it is saying that npm install save Angular material, Angular CDK, Angular animations. Compulsory. You can't miss any one. But now in the latest versions, you don't need all this. Just what you have to do is you have to run the command. You have to run the command. So ng, you don't need npm. Actually, previously we need npm separately. Now it is an integral part. So you can use ng add Angular / material. That is how we have to do. In old versions, it is different. You can go to the website, you check which version your company is using, because still company is asking for Angular 8, Angular 7, Angular 9 people, because their projects already in that version. But officially those versions are gone. But still your company may be using those versions because already the project is in it. They may be still maintaining it. In that case, in old versions, the process is little different, right? Here in the new version, this is enough. ng add Angular material. Okay. You see now, I will open here the terminal. So this is our workspace terminal. Anywhere in the workspace terminal, you can generally run this ng add. So Angular / material. That's how we need to define. Now here it will ask some questions. So that means it will walk through some questions. You see, first one, when I hit enter, it is trying to add Angular material. Actually, in previous versions, we have to separately install from npm. But now Angular CLI is enough. You can see that it is saying that found compatible package version. That is very good. That is what, because sometimes your Angular version is 12, but you are installing material latest. It will not work. It will not work. So that means material is not backward compatible. Angular is backward compatible. Material is not backward compatible. Which version Angular you are using, same version material you have to use. Right? So minor releases, no problem. Major release versions are important for us. Here it is asking, okay, do you want to install? Yes. That means, would you like to proceed? Yes. This is the first step you have seen. Yes. And the next question, after installing the basic packages, it will walk through some more questions. So first question it is asking, when you do this, it is asking the first question, would you like to proceed? Yes. Yeah. These are the questions it will walk through. Yeah. Second, once it is installing, it is asking, choose a pre-built theme. Choose a pre-built theme or a custom theme. It is asking, choose a pre-built theme or custom theme. It is asking, choose a pre-built theme or custom theme. I will just give, this is enough. Huh? Yeah. It is asking, choose a pre-built theme or custom theme. Actually, this Angular material is using CSS. And for CSS, ready-made themes files they given. That means like gray theme, like purple, blue theme, green theme, like some themes they have given. You can use those theme files. If you use those theme files, automatically entire appearance of components will be according to that theme. If you want, you can build your own theme file and upload that as a CSS file, right? Currently, already they given some theme files like deep purple, pink, blue, purple, green, and they give in custom, which one you want. Ready-made theme file. Better we will take any ready-made theme file. I will just use arrow key. I will select indigo pink. Okay, that is the theme file. So we are selecting theme file. Okay, this is what I given here, indigo pink. That is the theme file I selected. Next step, it is asking the Angular material typography styles. These are nothing but font styles. Font styles. Do you want to set up Angular material font styles globally? So here, yes, because Angular material uses a font. You can say no, no problem. But if you say no, then you have to put your own fonts. If you say yes, Angular have a separate font called Roboto. Roboto. It uses that font. That means every component uses a font called Roboto. You can skip it, no problem. But if you skip it, what happens when you are designing and comparing with what example they given, appearance will be little different because their fonts are different, our fonts are different. If you want to set up fonts also, you select typography. Okay, next step. After doing this, yes, next step, it is asking set up browser animations. It is asking set up browser animations. Compulsory, you must have browser animations. Yes. Don't skip this. If you skip this, some features of components only will work. That means sometimes what developers want is, sometimes developer wants only certain functionality. And for that functionality, animations not required. Then what they do is they ignore animations. Because if you are unnecessarily adding all libraries and you are not using, it is waste of space. So sometimes we develop library, we develop components, but what we do is when we are developing library and we are developing components, so we don't want some animations, effects, then we can ignore them, right? But these days, almost 80-90% of components require animations. Then you cannot handle them. 10% which doesn't require animation, you can use them. So we will use animations also. And remember, this library is required even later if you want to create your own animations. Like in CSS, you might have learned keyframes. Keyframes are used in CSS for creating custom animations. Such animations you can create in Angular only when you have this library. That is the reason in future you want to apply dynamic animations. It must be there. So that is the reason we will not ignore it. We will say yes. Yes for this also. Now everything is ready. Now it is configuring and defining the component. So material is ready. So Angular material is ready. And when Angular material is ready, you can see some changes are happening. This is ready. That means Angular material is ready. You can start using it. So this will set up complete Angular material library for project. This will set up the complete material for project. But sometimes in interviews, they may ask because sometimes interviewer can ask to test, do you have good experience in material also? Because these all questions are for experienced people. Because for freshers, they just test, they know material concept or not. But experienced person must have perfection in these materials because they need to be strong in designing and working with third-party components. That's the reason sometimes for experienced people, they ask once we set up material for project, so what are the changes applied to project? Sometimes a question comes what are the changes applied to project? That means what changes will happen in the project once you add material. So few changes happens when you see the following changes are updated into Angular project. Angular project. What are the changes? Already given you here. You have to remember them. You see some changes happen. What are the changes happened? And see, observe carefully here. It is saying package JSON, package.json. Obviously, this will change every time because whenever new dependencies are installed, their version details, everything will be in package JSON. That we already know. And another file, it is having app.module.ts. What do you think may happen in this extra? Because you have installed Angular browser animations, it should have set up browser animations. Browser animations module is imported here. Because Angular material needs browser animation module, that browser animation module is imported here. You can see in the app module, here, what change happened in the app module? You can see in the app module, it will get browser animations module. Browser animation module. That means it updates that browser animation module in the app module. Next, one more change you can see that. So in the changes, what changes happened? And actually another change is, another change what happened, which one I compiled. Okay, fine. Package JSON will happen. The list is not there. It's gone. Oh, fine. No problem. Actually, what happens is another file will change, angular.json. What changes happens in Angular JSON file? Angular JSON file, what changes will happen? You go to angular.json file. You see there is angular.json file. In this file, it should update the theme file. That means which theme file you selected for CSS, that will be applied here. You can see in angular.json, it is going to update the theme file. Go to CSS category styles. You see, you go to the styles category. From material, it is applying the pre-built Indigo Pink theme. It is applying the theme file. That change happens. That means what happens in Angular JSON? Styles, theme is applied. That happens in Angular.json. Another change will happen, not only Angular JSON, another will happen in index.html file. In index.html file also some changes will happen. What change will happen in index.html? You go to index.html. In that, you can observe that in index.html file, you see this typography class is applied. This is actually using a font called Roboto. I already told you that. It imports them and it will use them. That means default font is applied there. That class is applied here. That means it will apply the class called mat. This is mat means material. Material class will be applied. One more file will be changed, styles.css. You know that styles.css is a global file. It is a global CSS file. In that, what happens? In that, it will put the body style, default some body structure. You see, let's go to another file. What is it? Style.css. Here you see HTML, body height, body margin, font family. It is applying some options here. That means some changes applied. Actually, these two lines we written. These are later added when you install material. That means it will set global styles for font and body. That is what actually it happens. So in some experience level interviews to test that you really know complete Angular material, have a good idea on it, these questions are very common because everybody knows that these are mandatory for working with materials. If you are manually adding material, these are the changes you need to do. You need to verify browser animation module is imported or not. You need to verify the theme is applied or not. If you want later you have to change the theme, then where to go? That means why you need to know all this? Because you need to know, if I later want to change the theme, where should I change? Right? Already at the time of adding material, we selected a theme. Then later, if I want to change the theme, where should I go? If I have to change the theme, I have to go to which file? Angular JSON. Right? If I want to change the base font styles, then I have to go from styles. So I need to update that in this location. These all developer need to know to understand what changes he need to make, right? So once we know this, now what we have to learn, now we will see how to use the Angular material components. This is the first thing we are going to see. I will show you the difference between Bootstrap and material, because in real time development we have two choices. We can use Bootstrap, we can use material. I will show the difference, how Bootstrap looks like, how material look like. That we will see tomorrow, right? In tomorrow's session I will show you 2-3 examples of components. Others you have to explore by yourself. How to explore, how to track, I will tell you. Then you have to try others, right? We will see 2 examples on CDK, 2 examples on material. That's enough. Others you have to explore. Okay, tomorrow will continue.